Welcome, welcome. How are you? I see we have some new participants today. It looks like we might have some relatives on the screen here. John and Suzanne Olfest. Hello, welcome to the first Tech Support Tuesday that I've seen you at. Everyone.
Thank you.
Welcome. Oh, sorry. I see we have some new participants today. There we go. Sorry about that. That's my YouTube streaming in the background. Oopsie. Live. We're live. And here comes some other participants. Anyway, I am Laura Moynihan, and this is Tuesday, which means that it is Tech Support Tuesday. And today we are presenting tech tips for the technically clueless. We changed over our name a couple of months ago to match our YouTube stream that matches our Facebook page. And we, Tech Tutors here, provide you with helpful tech tips to help you use technology in a very practical way, in a way that enhances your life. Because we know that you're not necessarily techies, but we all have to use technology. So it's unavoidable these days, so we're here to help you do that. As I said before, I am Laura Moynihan. I'm the founder of Digital Helpmates, and here we have on screen several of our team members, some of them for the very first time. So I'd like to introduce some of them for you. We even have a brand new tech tutor that I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. First, we have Miss Meredith Fahey. She is our lovely business manager coming to us from near the Boston area in Massachusetts. And this is actually, she's been with us for a long time, but this is the first time that she's been on a Tech Support Tuesday with us. So you want to unmute yourself, Meredith, and say hello to everyone?
Hi, it's so nice to meet you. I see some new clients in here. So, we'll be corresponding, I'm sure, at some point. So nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, if you call the main line of Digital Helpmates, most likely you are going to get Miss Meredith on the phone. So now you get a visual of who you're talking to, so you feel like you know her. We also have here on screen Miss Dana Hillman, who is our sole PC and Android tutor. She used to be coming to us from Arizona, but in the last less than a month, she has also relocated to beautiful Washington State, where most of us are here. And she now lives in Yakima in central Washington. How are you enjoying the weather there in Yakima compared to Arizona?
Oh God, I don't know if I can handle the weather here.
Really?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
We're pretty lucky here in Washington, central and western Washington. We also have Steve Olfest, who's been a longtime Mac tutor of ours. He comes to us normally from the Denver area, but tell us where you are today, Steve.
I'm in San Diego. I'll be flying back to Denver this afternoon. I spent the week here. I've been helping people remotely, and I had a couple of in-person appointments as well here.
That's fantastic. And you grew up in San Diego, is that right?
I grew up here in San Diego. This is the house that I grew up in.
That's wonderful. And are those your parents I see on screen?
Those are my parents. They're in the other room here, joining in for the first time.
Hi, John and Suzanne. Very nice to meet you. See you.
Thank you. It's great to meet you too, Laura.
Yeah,
Laura.
Hi. And then I'm very excited to introduce our newest Mac tutor. His name is Carl, and he comes to us from Seattle. Carl, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you online, virtually. My history goes back to when I used to own some retail print shops. And I bought a Mac, one of the earliest Macs, to start doing my own typesetting. And then the economy changed, and in the early 90s, it tanked, and I had to close my business. But I took my Mac and became a broker of printing and started learning all the graphics apps. And so now I had to learn how to support my own Mac, because the support that was available back then was horrible. I'd call somebody up, they'd come in, spend a couple hours, charge me a couple $100 and leave. My computer would be worse off than when they showed up. So I decided to learn it, and I've been learning the Mac OS since then. And about 15 years ago, I started helping people by teaching them how to use their Macs. And in the process, I learned Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator and Adobe InDesign and Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Lightroom. And I tutor all of those, as well as giving Mac tech support. So I'm really excited to be here. This is a great group of people. I just started, and I'm excited. I'm happy to meet y'all.
Hey, welcome to your first Tech Support Tuesday, Carl. We're
Thank you. Thank you.
so happy to have you. And I love that I purposefully try to pull in people from different backgrounds. None of us have a computer like slash traditional IT background. I come here from graphic design as well. Steve comes from a different background. And I think that that gives us that real world experience to really understand how people really use technology, not how, some Silicon Valley engineer thinks that they should use technology. So that is, we are all of your hosts, I guess, today on screen. And we are going to be talking about something that is kind of a specialty hobby of Steve's, I suppose. This is the reason why we chose this topic today. And it is how to use technology to help you save money. Now, I thought that I was really good at doing this. I kind of consider, bargain shopping and saving money to be a little bit of a side sport to me. If I am junior varsity, Steve is varsity at this. He is extremely talented at using his technology to save his money and live his best life in so many different ways. And so we're going to get into that in just a minute, a little bit later in this class. First of all, though, I want to tell you a little bit about Digital Helpmates. Some of you are new to Digital Helpmates. We offer tutoring by subscription, tech tutoring by subscription. We have 3 different levels of support. They all give you one-on-one help from a lovely tech tutor like Steve, like Carl, like Dana, or like myself. And they include monitoring of your devices to make sure that your devices stay healthy and you have a real human being like Meredith looking through those alerts on your devices and letting you know if we see something that's important. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you haven't already subscribed, please go to digitalhelpmates.com, look at the very top menu and click on the rates drop-down menu. And there you can see how much it costs to do a tutoring subscription. Announcements. I always do announcements at the beginning of Tech Support Tuesday. And usually it just includes our next Tech Support Tuesday so that you can put that on the calendar. We used to do this monthly. Lately, we've been doing it quarterly. So mark this down in your calendar, November 22nd. It's the week of Thanksgiving. It is that Tuesday before Thanksgiving, so hopefully you won't be too immersed in the festivities and doing your cooking. You'll be the day before you do your cooking, so you'll have 1 hour to come and spend on Tech Support Tuesday getting tech tips for the technically clueless. And that will be same bat time, same bat channel. You can register online at our events page. That's again on our website. Click on the About Us tab and go down to the free webinars and events, and you can register for that anytime. All of our Tech Support Tuesdays are listed on that page. Okay, so the first thing we usually do, it used to be that when we had these Tech Support Tuesdays, I launched them right after the pandemic. Everything shut down, and I used to be doing drop-in tech tutoring when I had time. I didn't have a client. I would go to the library and I would help people for free, and the pandemic just shut all that down. So that's when we began doing Tech Support Tuesday, and it was to help people with their tech problems no matter what they were. Sometimes we have tech questions. Most times we have tech questions that come up during this segment of the class, but sometimes we don't, and then we just move on to our teaching portion. So now this is your opportunity to chime in, and you can put in the chat screen if you have a question and kind of try to sum up briefly what that question might be. It could be anything that has to do with your computer, with your smartphone, with your Bluetooth devices. What are you currently struggling with that you might want to have an answer now that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 tech tutors on the screen here with you to source all of our knowledge together to help you get through that problem? And it doesn't have to be a big one. It can be a little one. Sometimes those little problems are the ones that really vex us the most. So go ahead and put that in the chat screen. We'll give you a couple minutes to do that. I probably should have said that before I did all the introductions so you had time to think about your tech questions. I didn't get any in advance. I usually do ask for those questions in advance, and this time I didn't get any. So if we don't get any in the next minute or two in the chat screen, then we will just move on and let Steve tell you all about the different ways that he saves money. And by the way, if you want to come on camera, I welcome you to. I see some people in the room that haven't come on camera, but that is completely up to you. If you want to stay in the background and listen and you're more comfortable with that, that's fine. But when we first launched these classes, we had everybody on camera. I love seeing everybody's faces, new and old clients alike. It's fantastic. So while we're waiting for questions to come in, how about you guys, you tech tutors? Is there anything lately? Sometimes people think that tech tutors don't get stumped by things on their computer. And I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not true. I get stumped by stuff every day. What is it that, is there anything that you guys are currently kind of like struggling with right now? Guys, gals?
I got one.
Go ahead, Carl.
Steve, I'm not worthy. Your level's above me, I believe. This one is, it happens every once in a while. In fact, it happened this morning, almost made me late for the meeting. I usually leave my computer running all the time, and I usually have lots of applications running at the same time. And this morning I sat down and I logged into my account, and I noticed that some of my apps were unresponsive. So I pulled up the force quit menu, and there were several of them in there. So I don't know why that happened, but I usually leave my computer on all the time. So I force quit the ones that were stuck, and I restarted. And when I restarted, the force quit dialog was showing me there were even more applications that were now unresponsive. So I had to continue to quit applications while I'm rebooting. And I don't know what caused it. And I don't know why it happens occasionally. Is it directory damage, or did I get hacked, or what's going on?
I don't have a quick answer for that. I think that you did the right things. You tried restarting your computer. It's usually ideal not to have a lot of applications running simultaneously because they're always taking away from the memory. So what we're talking about, in case everyone is a little bit confused, what Carl is referring to is that he has opened a lot of programs on his computer, and all those programs are running at the same time, and suddenly they stopped working. In other words, he wasn't able to click on something, he wasn't able to make it work. So what he did on a Mac, and I'm sure there's a similar process on a PC, but on a Mac, under the Apple menu, which is in the upper left-hand corner on a Mac screen, you click on that apple, and under that, there's something there that shows force quit. And when you click on force quit, you'll see a listing of all the programs that are currently running on your computer. And if they are not running properly, it will say next to the program, not responding.
Not responsive.
Not responsive, and it kind of shows up in red. So Carl was seeing this on many of his applications that for whatever reason he wasn't able to click on them, they weren't running. And you can actually click on each one of those items in that new window we talked about under the Apple, under force quit. There's something there that shows up that says force quit. When you click on that particular application, yep, perfect. Laura's sharing her screen there. This is what we're talking about. And if something on Laura's computer was not working right, to the right of it, it would show up in red. It would say not responding. And you can click on that force quit. That forces that program to stop running. And in theory, you should be able to find that program again in your dock, in the bar across the bottom, and restart it up again, and it should run fine. But in Carl's case, he even tried force quitting it and going up to the Apple and restarting his computer, and it still didn't, it still showed that it was unresponsive. Many of them showed that they're unresponsive. Now, that could relate to many things. I mean, maybe there is a software update that occurred overnight, and some of the programs or the applications that he has on his computer may not have been compatible with that software update. It could be that he has bigger problems, like hardware issues, like there's a problem with his logic board. We talk about the logic board. It's sort of the brain of the computer. It's what does all the processing. And sometimes that causes problems with certain applications. Or the hard drive. Older computers have a spinning hard drive, and over time that spinning hard drive goes slower and slower, and at some point it stops working entirely. And sometimes if that hard drive isn't spinning like it's supposed to, certain programs don't work like they're supposed to either. Or the newer computers have solid state drives. In other words, everything in the computer is not stored on a spinning drive, it's stored on chips. And in some cases, those chips start failing as well. So if it's a hardware issue, it could be that brain of the computer, it could be one of those chips as well. So I don't have an exact answer as to why that happens, or why that happened to Carl, but if he starts seeing that happen more frequently, or if he starts seeing the colored wheel, sometimes on a Mac, you'll see a colored wheel spin a lot. We call that the beach ball. And if he starts seeing that a lot, it's probably an indicator that there is some kind of issue with his hardware. And he might need to go to an Apple service center to get that further diagnosed. Of course, with the Digital Helpmates subscription, it includes monitoring, and we can actually go into the monitoring report and we can see certain problems that your computer might be having with the hardware side, or in some cases with the software side. Sometimes software, like let's say malware or some kind of malicious application, also causes problems with other applications on the computer as well. Or sometimes there's an operating system issue. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it might be, but we can get a rough idea sometimes through our monitoring if you're signed up for the subscription.
Yeah, actually, I want to add too. I know that Carl likes to try out a lot of different third-party apps, and that just means, an app that you found somewhere else, sometimes on the App Store, sometimes not, that helps you do something on your computer. Those apps can be really helpful, but sometimes they can also have incompatibilities with each other, or bugs, and they can cause your system to crash. So usually what I do, if I start seeing a lot of crashes on my phone or on my computer, I think, okay, what was the last app that I just installed? If it's not like a Apple native app, I first start by uninstalling that and seeing if that fixes the problem. So yeah, Steve is absolutely right. It could be anything from a corrupt font to, bugs in software, incompatibilities, things like that, or even just an older operating system. Okay, we do have a question, and this is a really great one from Ella Ray. And Meredith did post a link in the chat, but this is a great question because there are so many people that are both PC users and iPhone users. The iPhone being the most popular phone in the world, and the PC still, at least as far as number of users, being the most popular computer in the world. So this question comes up a lot, and it is, if I'm taking pictures on my phone and using the Photos app, what's the easiest way that I can access those photos on my PC? Does that sum up your question, Ella? It does. Okay. So I know a couple different ways you can do this. Does anybody else have an answer to this that a tech tutor want to chime in on this besides me?
Well, I don't have an iPhone, but the best way for me that I've told other people, other PC users with iPhones, is to save their photos to a cloud, probably like Google Drive. And if you have the Google Drive desktop app, you'd be able to access it directly from that.
Okay, yeah, that is one solution, is save them to a cloud drive. And I know with Google Drive, there is an option in there that you can automatically turn on, save photos to Google Drive. So that's one option, using a different cloud service. Another one is to use Apple's own cloud service called iCloud. So when you hear that term cloud service, it can encompass any number of cloud services. OneDrive is a cloud service, Google Drive is a cloud service, Dropbox is a cloud service, and iCloud is a cloud service. So iCloud is built in to your iPhone device. And so that way it's very easy to go into the settings, turn on iCloud Photos, and then you can install Photos for PC. And I don't know if that's the exact terminology. What is it called? Is it iCloud?
So
PC?
it is actually, you install iCloud
iCloud.
on the PC. Yeah,
There
it's
you go.
iCloud for Windows.
That's what it is.
And anytime you install Apple Music on Windows as well, it will also install iCloud for Windows. So you will find, once it's installed on a PC, you will find it in the control panels. It should say iCloud there. And also you can also do a search for that in the lower left-hand corner for iCloud. You can look up iCloud, and you want to make sure in the iCloud control panel that you have selected, you have turned on iCloud Photos. And then all of the photos that are stored basically in that cloud in the remote server, when you take photos from your phone, they're going to that cloud. All of those photos will then show up in your pictures folder on your PC. Actually, there's a specific iCloud folder in the pictures folder on the PC that will then appear there.
Mm-hmm. And there's a third way that's even simpler than all of that. If you just want to get them immediately and you don't want to worry about installing software or whatever, on your PC, open up a browser and go to iCloud.com. And then you're going to see exactly like what you see on your phone. You're going to see these little boxes that indicate the different apps in iCloud. And one of them is Photos. And you click on Photos and there's all your photos. So that's kind of the short and easy way, once you get past two-factor authentication and all of that, to get to your photos taken on your iPhone. You just do have to make sure that on your phone you have that Photos on iCloud turned on. So that's in Settings, tap your name, tap iCloud, and turn on Photos on your phone. Were you going to say something, Steve?
And there's always the old-fashioned way, which is taking the cable that you would normally plug into the wall, right? You plug it into the bottom of your phone. The other end of that is a USB. You can plug that directly into your PC, and the PC will recognize your phone being plugged in there. It may take it a couple of minutes to install the drivers that it needs to make it work, but you can go in then to your File Explorer on your PC, and you can find those photos as well. They will ask you to load those photos. So that is the old-fashioned way without using a cloud at all. That still works as well, both on Macs and PCs, to physically plug it in.
Yeah, I think you can also still sync your phone to a PC using a cord, like using the old iTunes, which still is called iTunes on a PC. It's not called iTunes anymore on a Mac, but you can still do it that's the old-fashioned way that people used to transfer photos, is they would plug their phone into their computer using a cable, open up iTunes, and sync everything through that. So you can still do that on a PC as well.
Right.
So we've just given you like 5 ways and probably completely overwhelmed you, but hopefully one of those ways is simple enough to remember and use. Okay. And she added, thank you specifically. I've had issues attaching photos from iCloud to a message created on my PC. Yeah. So if you're accessing them the way that the easy way, where you're just going to iCloud.com, you would have to export that to your desktop on your PC in order to then attach, a mail message to it. Yep. It's infinitely easier when you have a Mac and an iPhone. It's true, but to do all this syncing stuff, but it still is possible with a PC. Okay, so we are right about at the halfway point. That went really fast of our class today. So we're going to move on to our teaching portion of the class today. And what I'm going to do first, just to kind of get us warmed up and get us kind of talking a little bit, is I'm going to create some breakout rooms. So this will give you all a chance to kind of talk with each other. What's the final count? Can somebody tell me how many people we have in here right now? Having trouble counting. Screens.
4.
How many screens? Is it 9? Or do we have
9.
somebody off camera?
9 screens.
9. Okay. So we're going to do 3 breakout rooms with 3 people in each. And here's what I want you to discuss. I want you to discuss, what are you sick and tired of paying too much money for? What is it in your life right now that you're like, you know what? That bill just keeps going up and up and up. I can't figure out why. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. Okay?
That's easy. Everything.
Everything. All right.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Joanne. Nice to meet you in person. Oh, I think you're muted. You can unmute yourself if you like.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Set a timer for
Yes.
5 minutes. Yes, I can.
5 minutes. Counting down.
Okay, I'm having Siri help me. She taps me on the wrist when it's time. All right. Well, what are you sick of spending money on, Joanne?
Well, I noticed that my cable service is always going up. It's cable and TV and all of that. It's always going up, and I just go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had cable for a long time and satellite. I thought satellite somehow would solve the problem of the bill going up and up, but it didn't. I had more channels, more commercials, and a bigger bill.
Mhm.
It's very tiring.
You don't have cable? You don't have cable service anymore?
I don't have either one anymore. I cut the cord. So
How'd you do that? Wait, I have my pencil.
I bet this is something that Steve's going to talk about. But just briefly, I got rid of cable and I went to streaming services only. So I have an Apple TV, and everything that I watch on TV is through Netflix, Apple TV, Hulu, one of the streaming services. So even when I add up what I pay in subscription services for each of those different things, it doesn't even come close to equaling what I used to pay for cable. Now, I don't get the trade-off is that I don't get local stations or news, but I never watch that much anyway. But there is a solution to that, and I bet you anything Steve's going to talk about it today.
Mhm.
There is a lower cost solution where you can get the news, the sports, the local channels, and get rid of your cable TV.
Yep.
Oh.
Exciting, huh?
I'm all ears.
Yeah. What about you, Dana? You're pretty good at saving your pennies too through technology.
Yeah, actually, I haven't had cable in over 10 years. I just did everything with streaming, and same thing with you, Netflix, Prime Video. And then recently, I had to cut ties with my previous cell provider, because during the pandemic, if you're not working, you can't pay bills. And so what was nice was that I found something called Mint, and I'm only paying like $15 a month for 4 gigs of data. The nice thing about it is that I connect to a network as often as possible. And because we have network at home, I can connect to that network, and I'm not using up any of my cell service, my cell data whatsoever. So I'm using my internet provider through my home. If I go out, like say I'm going shopping at Walmart, I'm hooking up to Walmart, looking at my grocery list online. So anytime I can connect to a network, it saves data for my phone bill. And so $15 a month, I can't beat that.
Yeah, Dana told me about Mint, and I switched from Verizon to Mint, and now my cell phone bill went from almost $150 a month to $20 a month.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was pretty amazing. Now, I have to admit, I sometimes get gaps in coverage with Mint. It's not as good as Verizon
Right.
in terms of the network, but it's so close that to me it's worth the difference. That every once in a while, it's like, oh, I can't hear you, I have to go outside or whatever.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. So there is a little bit of trade-off, but beyond that, I haven't really had much problems with my phone. So
mhm.
mhm.
Yeah, I have to say, so I think I've one by one I've solved most of the issues of the things that I'm tired of paying a lot of money for. One of them was internet service. I was paying Comcast for years, and I used to get my cable through them. Eventually, I whittled it down so it was just internet, but I used to be an internet, phone, and cable person. And still, it was still over $100 a month or around $100 a month, and the speeds were so bad. Like I would be
Yeah.
sitting there doing a Zoom call, and it would just be buffering and buffering, and I would check the speed, and it would be like 3 megabits per second. Like it would be so slow, so slow. Like anything under 10 is super slow. And here I'm paying $100 a month. Finally, after 20 some years of being with Comcast, I guess this was close to a year ago, I finally got fiber in my neighborhood. I didn't join it right away. I didn't sign. I kept getting flyers, sign up. We have fiber in your neighborhood. And I was like, I don't know. That sounds expensive. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I finally got so frustrated with Comcast, I did it. They gave me a free modem that was worth $150. They installed the whole thing for no money, and I pay $50 a month and I get speeds of like 100 megabits per second. Like, it's such a huge difference. Such a huge difference. So, okay, we're going to close the breakout rooms in
I'm
6.
in awe.
You're in awe. Well, that's what I'm saying is
Uh,
I feel like I'm pretty good at this, but Steve is even better than me.
I live in
Steve
a
is
really
very good.
small community, and I'm not sure that this is available, but we'll be looking into it.
You may not have fiber yet, but even if you don't have fiber, you may be able to get wireless internet through like a mobile hotspot. And there's all the different cell phone companies offer it now. And Steve has tried out almost all of them. So he's probably going to talk about that too. Like, if you can't get fiber, what's another option for you?
I think we have fiber. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, if you do, highly, highly recommend it.
I spoke to Steve, and we're going to be looking into all of this.
Okay, good. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had great conversations. I know that I did. And we got to even share some of, Dana and I were in a room together. We got to share some of our secrets because all of us, I think, have learned from each other. I've gotten tips from Dana and from Steve, and we've all managed to get better services for less money using our technology and learning from each other. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to, oh, actually, before I hand it over to Steve, how about one person in each one of your groups tells me one thing you remember that you wanted, that was said in the group by anybody that you wanted to save money on. So let's see, how about John and Suzanne? Why don't you speak up for your group and say what was the thing that you remember most of what your group wanted to save money on?
Gas. He told us getupside.com. Gas. And then he'll tell you more about putting it on with your credit card or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm not even
Gas
sure that was on the agenda. So you got an extra tip there from your son. I'm going to have to learn about that because I just buy my gas at Costco. I usually figure it's the cheapest there, but maybe not. Okay, so how about Carl's group? Who was in Carl's group? Ella? Ella. Okay, why don't you tell me, Ella, because, well, I'm trying to get some of us other than just the tech tutors to speak up, get more voices in the room. Tell me what was one thing you remember in your group?
So it was Carl and Frederick and me. And Frederick said AT&T was his thing that they're bothered most by, the
Mobile.
expenses going up. Yeah. And Carl and I agreed that everything really was the deal. But I mainly was focused on also on pet. Anything related to pets seems to just be getting astronomically expensive.
Yeah.
And I think Carl, I don't remember if Carl had something specific. Sorry.
Well, that's all right.
We spent so much time talking about PCs and Macs that we didn't really get to our question till the last minute, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, breakout room's closing. It's like, oh no. So I do have some tips I can add of my own personal things if Steve doesn't fill the entire time. So
yeah, well, let's let Steve get to his presentation here. Although we did have one more group, so the group that Meredith was in, I didn't get to hear from that group yet. Can you unmute yourself? Who was in that group?
I was actually with Steve and John and Suzanne.
Oh, okay. So we did hear from everybody. All right.
Yes.
Great.
But Steve taught us some great stuff.
Okay. And in our group, we mostly talked about cable and internet. So different options for saving on cable and internet services. And Joanne was very interested to hear about that. Okay, Steve, it's all yours. You got about 20 minutes here to teach us all about how to save a bundle using your technology.
Okay. Everybody see my presentation screen there?
Yep.
Okay. We will be talking about 3 different things. So the first thing is one of my favorite topics is saving money while you travel. I like to travel at little to no cost. In fact, I'm here in California. I traveled out here free because we have the companion pass. So every time that my wife travels on Southwest Airlines, books a ticket with points or buying a ticket, I get to tag along for free, and we'll have that for the remainder of this year and all of next year. So if you want to learn more about the Southwest Companion Pass, you can look it up, and feel free to book some time with me, and I can tell you some tips on getting to it. But let's talk about some other ways of saving money while you travel. One really great resource for saving money on flights is called Google Flights. And if you've never used Google Flights, now they don't have an app, they just have a website, Google Flights. You can go to the Google Flights website and you can look up any flights that you are thinking. You can plug in your travel dates there, and you can actually save your search. So anytime the price of a flight goes down, they will notify you, and they will actually tell you if it's a good time to book based on trends in travel. So look up Google Flights. Now, the one airline, well, I'd say the only airline, there's a few airlines that Google Flights does not cover. It does not cover Southwest Airlines. It does not cover a few of the other budget carriers. But the main carriers, let's say you're planning on traveling overseas, Google Flights will help you compare overseas flights from many of the major carriers, the major overseas carriers, things like that. It should be your stop number one when you want to compare airfares. It's much more extensive in its searching for discount flights than, let's say, a tool like Kayak or Orbitz or something like that. In fact, many of those other online services, Orbitz and Travelocity and so on, are actually owned by the airlines, and Google Flights is, of course, owned by Google. So they come with a little bit more unbiased look at the prices of airfares. Second tool I like to use while traveling to save money is Rome to Rio. Now, if you've never used Rome to Rio, it is a fantastic website and also an app. You can install this app on your iPhone, on your Android, on your iPad, and you can actually plug in any two destinations. So you're from destination and you're to destination, and it will give you, it'll actually sort out all of the ways you can travel from one place to another place using any type of public transportation. So the buses, the ferries, the trains that are available, and also give you links to find the fares and the time schedules for those various forms of transport. So personally, I like to avoid renting a car whenever I can, because rental cars can be expensive. They sometimes, especially these days, they're hard to come by. They require certain forms of insurance, especially in various countries and so on. If I can get there by public transit, I can not only save money, but I can also see some of the local ways that people get around, the ways that locals get around various cities and things like that. So I really enjoy traveling on public transportation, especially in countries outside the US, in Europe and Asia and so on. Rome to Rio is an extremely helpful tool for all of that. The third app that I really like using to save money while traveling is Viator. Now, Viator, and they also have a website, viator.com. You can put in any city that you are thinking about visiting in Viator, and it will give you a listing of all of the attractions, the tours that might be available, or at least that they have arrangements for. And I used Viator when I was in Europe extensively. I pre-booked all of the places I planned on visiting mostly at discounted prices. I think pre-planned before arriving at those places. For instance, when I was in Paris, I visited, the Eiffel Tower and Versailles and and Disneyland Paris and so on, and some of the museums. And so I had paid for and arranged my times through Viator. And if you're familiar with visiting some of the major cities in Europe, you know that the lines to get into many of those attractions can be extremely long. So you can book it through Viator. You can have the app on your phone. It will show a barcode, that like a QR code that you can show at the entrance to the attraction that you're planning on visiting. And then you can just skip by those very long lines in Europe and get right into the attraction. So 3 extremely helpful ways of using your digital devices to save money while traveling. Move on to the next topic now. Any other questions? Shall we move on to the, we can have questions in the chat and we can answer those at the end.
Go ahead and chime in the chat, you guys. Let us know what you think about the things that Steve is teaching you. If you have other resources that you use. And then when he gets to the end of a segment, if you have any questions, then he can call on you and answer those questions out.
So next thing, saving money while grocery shopping. Every grocery store has, all the major grocery stores, I should say, have an app. And you should always, always use the grocery store app for your chain grocery store that's nearby you. So my favorite chain of grocery stores is the Kroger chain. And based on where you live, Kroger goes under all kinds of different names. It might be called Smith's, or it might be called Ralph's, or in Denver, it's called King Soopers. And in the Midwest, of course, it's just called Kroger. But Kroger is the largest chain of grocery stores across the United States, and their app is very good. You can actually go into the Kroger app. You can go under the savings section there, and you can check mark all of the coupons that you want it to automatically apply. So then when you check out, you will use your shopper's card. It will be attached to your shopper's card with your local grocery store. And when you scan your card in, it will automatically apply those discounts. There's a new section also in the Kroger app, in the Kroger family of stores app, that will also give you amounts back. So based on the products that you buy, you'll get sort of a savings bank, and you can check off the things that you're going to be buying, and then you'll have this savings bank that you can apply to your next trip to the grocery store. So actually opening up the app, there's 2 different sections under saving. There's one for coupons that are applied immediately to your grocery bill, and there's another one for getting those rebated amounts back. In fact, speaking of rebated amounts back, there is a variety of apps that will give you a certain amount of money back for purchasing certain products. And I think the best of these types of apps is called Ibotta. Ibotta is very similar to the grocery store app, but you can sort of stack that together. So you can get the rebates to the Kroger app. And then if you're buying that same product and Ibotta recognizes that, it will also give you an additional amount through the Ibotta app. So you'll get a certain amount back that you can cash out at a certain amount of time. And you can cash it, I think they'll cash it back in a like a gift card or something like that. And so just for buying products at the grocery store, you can save money using both of those apps in conjunction with one another. And they're both attached to your shopper's card at the grocery store. The third thing that I always do is go to the coupons.com website. Now, you may have been familiar with clipping coupons from your newspaper, and that still a good idea, although coupons are not as plentiful as they were at one time. But the coupons.com website has many coupons that you can go through and select, and you can print out paper coupons. So now you may have 3 ways of saving on certain products. You may be able to save money using the grocery store app. You may be able to get a rebate back using Ibotta, and you may be able to present a paper coupon for just the purchase of one single product if you're lucky. I always call that a triple score if I can do that kind of thing. And also look at your credit card, because certain credit cards will give you a certain number of points in addition to what they normally give you. So for instance, I like using the Southwest credit card. And right now, if I use my Southwest credit card at grocery stores, rather than getting 1 point for every dollar I spend, I'm getting 5 points for every dollar I spend, which adds up very quickly towards my next trip on Southwest Airlines. So lots of ways to save money while grocery shopping there. So yeah, and Laura also added that Safeway, it's very similar. Fred Meyer is owned by Kroger. Yeah, so every part of the country has its own Kroger branded store, but it's all under that same parent company of Kroger there. So,
Can I add something, Steve?
yeah, yep.
So I just discovered this recently. I kind of came a little bit late to the game of using apps, the grocery store apps, but I was in Safeway the other day, which is my closest grocery store. And I noticed when I was buying ice cream that right there on the price tag was like a little barcode, and it said, scan this barcode for an instant coupon. And it was like huge savings. And I was like, wait a minute, what do I scan with what? And I realized, oh, it must be the Safeway app. And sure enough, I opened up the Safeway app. It has a little, button there that says scan. I scanned the little barcode next to the ice cream, and suddenly ice cream that was $6 is $2.50. And it just gets applied at checkout, because you're using that rewards card, which is linked to your login that you use on the app. So it all just kind of syncs together. And then I tried it again the other day. I found another one that said instant $5 off $50. I'm like, when do I not spend $50 when I go to the grocery store? That's like every time. And that was just easy money.
That's right. So all kinds of things out there. The third category we're going to talk about is internet and cell phone bills. So I mentioned in my group that I use T-Mobile internet, and it has been really great for me. Now, it depends on your proximity to T-Mobile towers, but T-Mobile has now guaranteed that the price will be $50, including all taxes, for your life. They say that the price will not change. You'll be paying $50 per month for the rest of your life. And the speed is based on your proximity to T-Mobile cell phone towers. Again, the speed is very good. It's very fast, very competitive to cable internet. So whereas the cable carriers, they don't promise that your price won't change for the rest of your life. Oftentimes they'll add incremental price adjustments without you even noticing, and all of a sudden you're paying a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more for your cell phone bill for your internet through your cell phone provider, or maybe you're using DSL or fiber or something like that. They all do that kind of thing. They add their, and you might be able to call them back and say, oh, whatever promotions you have, can you adjust that? That might work for a while. But I really like T-Mobile in that they will not change the price. It's $50 a month when you use your credit card to automatically pay your bill every month. That's a great one. Mint Mobile for your cell phone bill. I really like Mint Mobile as a cell phone carrier because it is really inexpensive. I mean, that's more than anything else. Now, the caveat with Mint Mobile is they don't have a store. You can't go into a Mint Mobile store and get help or that kind of thing. You have to sign up for it through their website, and you have to purchase a certain number of months in advance. You can't just pay monthly kind of thing. But when you calculate what you're paying per month, the price is very good. Now, The other thing I do not like about Mint Mobile is if you are traveling overseas, you will not have any service overseas with Mint Mobile. It works great in the US, but if you go to Europe or to Japan or whatever, you will not have service. So that's why I like T-Mobile. T-Mobile now has service in over 250 countries. So you can actually continue to use your T-Mobile, not pay any additional fees. Your phone will work just like it did back at home. And they have some great plans for seniors. So they have something called Magenta 55 Plus for T-Mobile that will I mean, the monthly price is more than Mint Mobile, but if you like to travel, which I do, T-Mobile is a great alternative for using that service overseas, being able to use data so you can look up maps and text folks back at home and things like that. So T-Mobile is a great way to save money. I do not recommend using Verizon. I mean, although Verizon and AT&T are great providers here in the US, they are also the most expensive providers here in the US. And if you use them overseas, which you can, they tack on an additional $10 per day for every day that you, even if you answer a text or you make a phone call or whatever the case is, all you have to do is do one thing using a T-Mobile or AT&T provided cell phone, and they'll tack on an additional $10 per day to your regular cell phone bill. All right, so we've got just a couple more minutes for questions if Laura wants to address that.
Yeah, so there are some questions in the chat. I asked a couple of them, but Steve, why don't you look over those questions and let's. I just want to address Ella's comment. She said we have a 55 plus at $60 a month for our cell phones, and we have service in Mexico. And who is that through? Who? T-Mobile?
Yeah,
Yep.
T-Mobile. Sorry, didn't put that.
Yep, exactly right. Yep, that's T-Mobile. Yep, absolutely right. So
yeah, that's not bad. Just for comparison's sake, though, Mint Mobile, you can get cell service for $15-20 a month, so it's even cheaper. T-Mobile, so you were talking about T-Mobile internet. I know a lot of people live out in the sticks, so to speak, and they can't get internet at all. They certainly can't get fiber. Is T-Mobile like a mobile hotspot type of thing that works off of cell towers?
As long as you have a T-Mobile tower in your vicinity, like my mother-in-law lives in the middle of nowhere, Montana, and I wondered how well the service would work there. I brought my modem up there and it worked fantastically. She's in the sticks of Montana, but because she has this T-Mobile cell phone tower in her vicinity, the service works great.
And is it unlimited, or is it a certain amount?
Unlimited.
Really?
T-Mobile home internet, unlimited internet.
That's fantastic. I know
it's a new thing. They just started it last year.
Okay. And almost all the cell phone companies now are offering some sort of mobile internet. Like I know Verizon is also offering one. How does T-Mobile compare to Verizon's offering?
So Verizon's is not as fast. So Verizon's using 4G in many areas, unless you happen to live in one of the concentrated areas where Verizon has installed their version of 5G, which is extremely fast. If you're lucky enough to live in one of those areas, that's great. Otherwise, you'll be getting, with Verizon home internet, you'll be getting 4G. So it's not as fast as T-Mobile is in the sort of the unconcentrated areas for 5G, because Verizon and T-Mobile use different versions of 5G. So again, it depends on where you are. But if you have Verizon cell phone service, you can get Verizon home internet for only $25 a month. So, but it may not be as fast as what you're used to.
Yeah, that's amazing. Ella added a question. Does T-Mobile offer a way to check the strength of the internet connection from your location, like the speed?
You can look on their website. They do have a color-coded map. You can see where their service areas are. You can plug in your zip code, and based on how dark the color-coded area is for where you are, that's where you can tell basically your proximity to the cell phone towers, how strong or how fast your internet will be.
And then the last question came from me. So I haven't traveled internationally in a long time, but I have heard that if you travel somewhere internationally, you can actually purchase a SIM card in that country to get, like you're going to be calling around to local restaurants and whatever in that country and to not pay for international rates. Or would that work if you had Mint Mobile and you wanted to get coverage in another country?
100% you can do that. You just have to be aware that you will no longer have your home phone number. So if somebody tried to call your home country phone number, somebody tried to call your home country phone number, they would just get voicemail. And so it's great for short-term data. Maybe you needed to use Google Maps and look up something or search your email or that kind of thing. That's all great for that. And I have done that. You can actually buy through Viator. You can prepay for a SIM card when you travel to certain countries and pick them up where you go. So you can absolutely do that if you have Mint Mobile or whatever. It's just that extra pain to have to pull out that little card from your phone and put in a different one.
Right, right. Got it. Well, thank you so much, Steve. I could tell that all of us, even us tech tutors, were furiously taking notes on everything that you were saying. So hopefully we have all learned a lot from you today and will save a lot of money from these tips. We are at the end of our hour here. So thank you so much for coming today, everybody. I hope that we see you again in 3 months' time. And if you have any tech questions between now and then, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at digitalhelpmates.com. All the different ways to reach us are there. And until then, I hope that you stay safe and enjoy your devices as much as you possibly can. All right. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank
Oh,
you.
this will be available on our YouTube channel if you want to watch a replay. Go to our YouTube channel to watch this. All right. See you later. Bye-bye, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming.